Hi, welcome to Tea with Mali. We're here today with my dear friend, Debijo Wheatley with Designs by Debijo. We're going to talk a lot about functional design. We're going to go into her passions and her purpose and what makes her live her extraordinary life. And she's just going to let you know how she is living her purpose through her work and what really motivates and inspires her. So welcome to Tea with Mali today, Debijo.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm nervous, but excited.
No, you're doing great. I know that there's a lot of changes going on in your life, personally and professionally. How has your work in the design world evolved over the last 2 or 3 years? How did it start off and where is it today?
I started off wanting to do this work because I felt something within me. I needed to leave my role as a nurse, and I love decorating. I love design. And what kind of spurred it on was having a safe place. Like in being in the hospital, you, as a nurse, you try to have a safe place for your patients, your clients, the family members. So it kind of segued into that in a home, that I wanted people to be in their home and to have a safe place.
And how did you move from nursing? Because how many years were you in nursing?
28 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What made you decide that it was time?
I didn't work full-time. I worked part-time, and I was in church one day with my mom, and I just started crying, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, I'm not happy, and I don't know what it is. I said, I love my husband, I have a great home, I have great friends, I have great family, I don't work a lot, I shouldn't be miserable. What is wrong with me? And she said, okay, name a word, give me a word that will say, what you want to do. And I just looked at her and I said, decorate. And she said, that's it. And then I started laughing. She goes, what? I go, I feel like a Stepford wife. It's like I say, I want to say, I just want to make things pretty. I want pretty things in my life. And she said, you need to look into that then. So I went home and I talked to Howard, who's my husband. And I said, listen, this nursing, I can't do it anymore. I said, I come home to you, I complain. I have nothing to complain about. And I said, it's not about my work, it's about how I'm feeling. And he said, go for it. He was retired. There was a bad recession, and he said, let's go for it. He said, I believe in you, and give it a shot and see what happens. And so it launched in 2007 and started out just trying to do staging and redesign, and it kind of moved into working with contractors to the point now where I'm doing art installations for corporations, and it's wonderful. It's just a wonderful way of life.
And how do you think that happened? Did you manifest it? How did you move from nursing to one day being at church, feeling the way that you felt, and then realize that it was decorating?
Well, I had a small business prior while I was a nurse. I paint, and I would do wall murals, and then it got to the point, my mom is also an artist, and we would have shows at my home. My husband built a gallery downstairs for me, and we would do once a year, we would do like a 5-day show, and we would do functional art. We would go to flea markets and get furniture, do ornaments, and everything was one of a kind. And our clients that we had would I would say it's 5 days. They would all be lined up the first day because they knew there was only one of anything that they could get.
So great.
So, we kept doing it till it got to the point, I think it was about 2004, maybe 2005, we were just like, okay, we can't think anymore. I was just running because I would sit and just stare at furniture, and then it would come to me what it was supposed to look like. And we never wanted to be passé. We didn't want to paint just to paint. So we decided, let's just take a break from this. And so I would paint for people now and then. But I loved my job as a nurse too. I loved what I did. I did a lot of teaching in it. And but I also would rearrange their hospital rooms when I was in there. After I was done, I used to put in central lines, so I had to have a certain sterile field. Then when I was done, I'd rearrange the room to be more functional for them, instead of everything. And then I would swear all the time that nurses should be designing the patients' rooms and not architects. So that's kind of, so has never left me, any art or any design was always within me to be brought out.
So we talked about your nursing, helping people feel safe and cozy, and as a patient, you were thinking about that already before you even launched your design company. Let's talk a little bit about something you're very passionate about, which is hospice care and providing that sacred space for people who are really transitioning to the next phase of their life, the afterlife. So talk a little bit about your pull toward that work and why is that so important to you?
I worked as a home hospice supervisor when I first moved down here. And I would go visit clients who had nursing assistants. And I also worked as a hospice nurse in the home with a patient that I took care of for 4 months before she passed. And one of the things that I would notice when I would go in a room is that the hospital bed would be brought in, all the equipment, everything they needed, and the family is just so flummoxed that everything just goes in this one space. And it's almost like the client is on display. And there's no safe place for the family to come in. And the whole purpose of hospice and being able to pass at home is to have that feeling that you had some closure, you had this with people. And when I would walk in these rooms, it would actually make me feel agitated because there was no place I could sit or look. And they need to be, the clients need to be a part of the family, but they also need their privacy. So what I found when I went into this design, I said, how can I give back? How can I use what I do and give back in a way? So I went to Capital Hospice, which is now called Capital Caring, with a program. And I said, this is what I'd like to do. It's free of charge. I'm not charging anybody anything. I would like to go into the homes when patients are going home for their final days and set up a room for them that's safe. A lot of them have little kids, and the kids get scared. They see all this equipment. My feeling was, as a nurse, I know what they need near them, but I could also make it be somewhat a design space too, and have them feel incorporated in the family, and have the family feel, because once that bed and all that equipment goes, that room is very toxic for the family afterwards, because it was not a safe place for them to be. And a lot of them end up leaving their homes because they can't handle having known what went on in that room. And that shouldn't be that way. That's their family home. That's a choice they can make later on. But to me, it was more about having the time with their family and not worrying about, oh my God, there's this equipment over here, and am I going to hit this, or do they have what they need? And it just, the couple that the problem was I couldn't make the social workers at the hospice really quite understand what I was doing. They brought me out on a few cases and stuff. Now I have since then talked to Tiger Lily, and I'm hoping to do some work with them and just go in and help space as well in their stage 4. So we have talked about that, but it's important.
Tell our audience what Tiger Lily is for those that don't know.
Tiger Lily is a foundation that was founded by Mae McCarmo, who was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, when she was 32 years old. So the purpose of Tiger Lily is to empower and to help women under the age of 40 that are afflicted with breast cancer. Most of them don't have the people amassed. They don't have insurance, or they have young children, or they're by themselves. So it's to give them assistance.
That's great. Well, thank you for the work that you do, because when you were talking about Capital Hospice or Capital Care, my father passed away. It'll be 7 years this year. Gosh, I can't believe that. Mm-hmm. And he decided to go to hospice, and it was Capital Hospice. And I remember the room and how open it was, and he was next to a window, and there was a garden, and it was for him his saving grace, because I was with him every day for 3 weeks and every night, and having that openness, having a space for him to feel connected to nature, really gave him a sense of peace as he was transitioning. And so when he passed, I always reflect back on the environment, because we had to be there all the time. The family, not just him, but there's a lot going on when someone is leaving you, and the shock of it, the hopelessness, the lack of control. There's nothing you can do, but to know that he can look out the window and there was enough space for him to feel like he could still have peace in his life. It's very, very important, not just to the patient, but to the family who's going to be left behind to kind of cope with what happens after our loved ones go away. Exactly. So thank you for the work that you do. It personally touched me when you said that, because it really did make a big difference for our family.
Well, it's a very brave, I always tell the family, this is probably the bravest decision they will ever make, is to honor the person that has decided, I'm done. And they should also be safe as well. They should also be able to be able to let them pass and to make it as nothing's going to be good about it, nothing's going to be easy about it, but it will give them peace to know that their loved ones were able to do exactly what they wanted.
So what is functional design?
Well, I don't think it's something I made up because I've talked to a couple of contractors about this, and I think of it as my age right now too. I'm 57. I work with a lot of clients that don't want to leave their homes. They're baby boomers, they're 50s, 60s, and they're living in these big houses. Well, they don't want to leave those houses. And someday, and I hate to say it, but something's going to happen to them, possibly physically, that's going to make it very, very difficult for them to live in their home. So, for an example, I had a 66-year-old woman who has spinal stenosis. She's been a widow a year and a half, and we went into her house. And she's turned out to be one of my best friends. I just love her. She's darling. And she doesn't want to leave her home. She doesn't have any kids. She's like, I'm staying here. And it's a gorgeous home. So what I did in her kitchen is we walked it out. I know she's going to be in a wheelchair someday. She does have to use a walker. What can we do to make it easier on her? Well, instead of the cabinets on the bottom being cabinets with doors, we did more drawers because you can reach in. Instead of a dishwasher that opens all the way down, and then she's got to bend over, and she's tall, and lift it up to close it, we got a two-drawer dishwasher. So she, basically living alone, she can use the top drawer and never really have to bend to do anything. And I got her a counter height table, so when she sits, so the stool, she has places where she can do work and things. Then what we did, she can still go upstairs, but there's going to be a day when she can't. She has a beautiful library. Well, that can be made a bedroom. However, her bathroom is just a powder room. So we took out the hall closet and put in a shower in there with a guide bar and a seat. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful bathroom. Now she can easily live on that first level. It's very easy for her to get in and out. Her washer and dryer was upstairs. Everything she needs is on that first level. So we've made it such that she doesn't have to leave her home. So to me, functional design is when I meet my clients. I say, how long are you going to be living here? Do you plan to retire here? Do you want to stay in your home? Well, if you do, let's look around and see how can you stay in your home, because things happen. You don't want them to, but they happen. And you don't want to have to leave your home under duress, or you just can't go back to it. My job is to, if this is where you want to live, let's make it so you can live here.
Why does this make you so happy? Doing functional design and just design in general, not only decorating, because I think you go beyond decorating. I think that for your clients, at least from what I know of your work and the fact that I've worked with you as well, you really go into the hearts and minds of your clients. You really, it's not about rules. There aren't any set standards for decorating or design. But it's really about being able to bring the best out of the person who's going to be living there, the things that they love and they're passionate about. And that's important to us as the client, but why is that important to you?
Well, people will say to me, oh, is this the right thing to do, or isn't that the right thing to do? I said, do you feel good about it? And they say, yes, I do. Then it's the right thing for you. Now let me make sense of it, and let's make it so it looks good for you. I grew up in a home where furniture was moved all the time. It was just something we did. Once a week, the furniture got moved. I moved my bedroom around once a week. But it was a fun place to live. And to me, it was safe. And to me, when you feel safe in your home, you're uncluttered, you have the things that are important to you, you love going home. It's sad to me when people say, I just don't want to go home, I'm not happy there. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with whether they have somebody or don't have somebody, or their marriage could be great, they could have great kids, but they don't want to go home because they don't feel at peace there. And to me, it's to make that space to feel at peace, and they want to be there. It should be a vacation to them when they go home.
That's great. What do you say to people who may be watching this program and they're thinking, well, I can't afford her, who are on a budget? Is this possible for them to hire someone to do this work for them, or is it just you have to be at a certain level of income? What is it that you can offer, or your type of work in your industry? Is it enough for you to be able to offer something for everyone?
Oh, of course. And I always tell people this too, that it's not necessary. I don't have to come in and say, okay, now we've got to get the trendiest couch, and we've got to buy this, and we've got to do that. I always tell people, let me come in, let me see what you have. Let me move the space around for you. with the things that you own, and then let's see what you need, as opposed to having to go out and just spend money to spend, because I don't believe in that. Usually they will then be ready to purchase things if they wish, but to me, that's not what it is. It's like something in their home is bothering them. Let's just go in and see what it is, move things around, make it comfortable for you, and then you'll know what you want to do.
So I want to know more about the other side of your life, not just work. I want to know what makes you happy. What do you enjoy doing? I know that you're really fun and you're hysterical, but what is it that you love to do outside of work?
I love to spend time with my family and friends. I'm blessed with an incredible family on both sides, my mom's side and my dad's side. I have crazy cousins on both. My mom's side, we started out having cousins weekends once a year, every other year to reconnect. We now have them, it looks like, every 6 weeks when somebody gets a bug up their butt that, we got to get together. It's time to get together. Something's happened. We need them all together, and it usually involves a lot of wine. I love being with my mom and my brother, and I have great friends. I love people. I love hosting. I love having people to my home. I love my home. I just really have gotten a lot of peace in my life now, and I just want to be around the people that bring good into my life. And again, like I said, I'm very blessed. I have many people that do bring good into my life.
And you said that you have work that you do on the weekends that also inspires you and motivates you, things around the community. So let's talk a little bit about your community work, because I know that lights you up as well.
Okay. Well, it's always the giving back to me. I've been blessed with so much in my life that it's always about paying it forward or doing something. And one of the biggest things I started doing when I realized I had the time to do it was to do volunteer work with Alternative House, which is based down in Vienna, Virginia. It has a number of areas. But I started doing volunteer and was asked to be on the board, and it was very inspiring to me because I was given so much as a child and as a teenager. It wasn't all perfect, but of course nothing is, but I knew I always had a safe place to be, and these kids don't. And to me it's very sad because they start to get hardened, and they are still kids. It doesn't matter, they're 15, 16, dressing however they're dressing, they are kids and they need a place to be. So I've worked with them for a while, and recently have been on the board of Bite Me Cancer, which is an organization founded by my goddaughter who was diagnosed with medullary thyroid cancer when she was 17, and she's now 20 and a rising junior at James Madison University. And I want to see her dream come about. How can teens be supported that are dealing with cancer? Not only is she trying to raise money for research, but as a teen, she didn't find many avenues out there. As a nurse, I've been trying to pull in some other avenues for her, but she has a good board behind her, and we're trying to do some different things with that. And I also didn't want to let my nursing go entirely, so one weekend a month I work for Health South, which is an acute rehab hospital out in Aldi, and I work as a liaison, which means that I bring patients into the hospital, I screen them. The weekend is not as much screening, but I would have to go out to area hospitals and visit with them, and it helps keep my critical thinking up.
Why do you think family and friendships, all the good things that come into your life that you want to keep, that you talked about earlier, why is that so influential for you in terms of the paths you choose and the decisions you make in life?
I think because I've always had support, and I think it's because the support has come from the female side of my family. Both of my grandmothers, my dad's mom, her husband died when her youngest was 4 and her oldest was 18. My dad was 16. And so she basically raised these kids on her own. And she was always very down to earth. She was a blast. So she was a lot of fun. She was very outspoken. She was not the grandmother. She always hugged us and cuddled us, but she was not opposed to whacking us on the butt if we got out of line. My mom's mom had to leave school at 12. It's a long story, and they kept bringing people over from Italy to marry one or the other, but when she lost her mother, her father brought somebody else over from Italy. They married. Then she lost her father, and she brought somebody over, and then he died. So it's a long, but there's a lot of different people. But at 12, she had to go to work, and She worked all her life, but she moved forward. She was managing a store when I think I was in elementary school. That I'm lucky. I only have like 22 years between each of the generations, so they were young, and we all worked for her. I got away probably with more than most did, because she would send me out shopping, go buy clothes, and give me money. But she managed a store. She did the books. She did this. It was a man that owned it, but she was the manager. And then my mom, she got married young. She was 19. And she got out of school. She worked at Anspo, which is a camera place up in upstate New York. And they asked her to model now and then. She was very strikingly beautiful, and she still is. And then she got a job as a secretary at IBM. Well, she ended up in executive management. She didn't go to college. She learned. And she was very gracious. And a number of people wanted to model after her. She did everything she did as a lady in the class. So I look at those three, and the fact that, they believed that I could do something. And I think that's why my women friends are so important to me too. I see that, I saw what they saw in me. And when I would say I want to do something, they just believed in me. The difference between, I guess, my grandmothers is, let's say I hit somebody with a car and killed them. This is extreme. My dad's mom would say, well, okay, let's get you a lawyer. We're going to get you out. No problem. We've got it taken care of. My other grandmother would say, well, they were probably not supposed to be walking there anyway. You did nothing wrong. So I had extremes of how I was treated, in the sense, but it was always supportive, and it was just fun. And my families were always fun and always, willing to see me do something new.
And that makes sense as to why you are the way you are. I think that you've been through so much. You've gone through a lot of loss, and you've seen a lot of people lose because of the nursing work that you've done, and taken care of people your whole life. And yet there's just this spark about you, this survival, this need to just keep moving forward. And I think for a lot of people, not having the support, the love, the friendships, the positive influence, that makes a big difference. That's a determining factor, I think, for many people who really can't get to the next level of feeling lighter and feeling brighter and having hope again. And so, I would be curious to know, what would you say to people who may not have that natural support around them? What could they do for themselves to move forward? I know that you and we have great positive influences and mentors, but there are a lot of people out there that don't have a strong family bond, or don't trust people enough to have strong friendships. What would you invite them to do?
I guess it's to look outside of that, to look for, and I don't want to say groups. Meditation has been very good for me, learning the whole time. I got through what I got through these last 2 years through meditation and through trying to learn myself. I had the support as well, but I think without the support, I think it might have taken a little bit longer, but I think just trying to reach inside myself and not worry about what was out there. I think we bring to us what we put out there. I think if you're putting out negative, and I know it's so hard not to put out negative when things are bad. It's just something, it's just natural. But to me, I would say, even though you feel alone, you aren't alone, because first of all, there's always going to be somebody worse off than you. There's always going to be somebody with something less than you. There's always going to be someone that no matter what they do, they can't find the help within themselves. But to me, I think if you can just look inside yourself, try to see what it is you want, and then just try to learn from that. And if it's being alone, taking classes or whatever, but just something to help support you, because it's out there. It really is out there. It's just hard to ask for it. Very hard.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable enough.
Right.
Being strong enough and brave enough to ask for help. I've had to learn that lesson myself, big time. And so, when you're hurting, it's really not the time to be prideful. It really is the time to say, I cannot do this alone. So, great. That's great advice. And I know that a lot of people who are watching can sense in you the journey and hopefully be inspired by you continuing to move forward and doing some amazing things for people in the world. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
What do you believe your legacy is when you're no longer here and you're out there in a new plane looking down on us? What do you want to stand for in this world?
Kind of what I was told by my husband the day before he died. I said, why have you been with me all these years? What have I brought to you? And I said, because I know I can be difficult, and I know the journey's not always easy, and we have bumps, but we had a great marriage. And he said, he goes, you have a kind heart. So my legacy would be that people look back and felt that I was kind to them. I was kind to them as a friend, as a family member, as their designer, that I was kind to them and they received what they needed from me. I think that would probably be the thing, that is the most important to me.
Well, I think that people that know you and people who are watching the program now, they can feel it, and I really believe that. I think that if you're really living your truest self, and I think you're at a place in your life, we've talked a lot and we've shared a lot as friends, and also as professional colleagues. There's a lot out there. When your personal world is falling apart, if you don't have good structure, infrastructure, and support systems, so does your business. And so it's not just personal and professional, but when you're truly stepping out there in all the aspects of your life, being who you really are, I think it shows through. And I don't doubt that when people really know you, when they really take the time to know you, and this is the way it is for many people, we just take the time to reach out and get to know the essence of someone else, the core of someone else, not what they put out there physically, but who they are. I think it's very quick. We know intuitively what that person is all about. So don't think you have anything to worry about around the legacy of you being kind. So in this lifetime, you've got the kind down. So now we need to make sure you're always having fun, because that's also very much a part of you. So this has been such a fun interview.
It's been great.
You've been so kind to share all of the things that you did around functional design, around all the inspirations and influences in your life. So are there any final thoughts or things that you want to share to people who might be watching you?
Other than enjoy your life, this has been an amazing ride. I've been doing things that I never thought I could do. Been meeting people I never thought I could meet. Especially with now being alone, more or less. It's been amazing. Do what you love to do. Have it be your passion. I mean, it can be something that's nonsensical, that doesn't have to parlay into a business, but just do what you love and just enjoy the ride, because this is all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly.